It's funny what I can remember from 40 years ago. I can recall my home phone number, my address, and the day I was decapitated. I was doing my favorite thing on a sunny afternoon in 1982. What kid wouldn't enjoy a game of hoops with his dad and big sis? They both towered over my 11-year-old body like two giants. Whenever either of them would deliver a shot, the swish noise would be followed by the ball's sound hitting the homemade wooden backboard in our front yard when I took my turn. After a quick game of horse, we took it inside for a discussion. Dad explained how I wouldn't be around too long because someone pretty high up had made a grave mistake. Susan, my sister, argued with him, describing how angels didn't mess up. They just reverse situations. Dad went on to say I would be getting a do-over, and I'd soon be back home with Mom. Evidently, God never puts more on folks than they can handle. Taking me away would be another tragedy my poor mother couldn't deal with within her lifetime. She'd already lost my father and Susan, so losing me would be too much. So I was given a second chance. The two explained how it had played out. My neighbor had just finished putting up a new barbed wire fence along the road to my house. I cruised down Mellon Road on a borrowed three-wheeler when I took the curve too fast and lost control. I hit it straight through that new neck-high fence, and then I ended up playing basketball with Dad and my sister. They let me talk them into one more round of horse before my rewind happened. I'm sure they let me win this time. It felt good to get a few more minutes with them before saying goodbye. The next thing I knew, I was back on the machine that had ended my life earlier that same day. Freedom was in front of me, and it took the shape of blue skies, sunshine, and wind. It was as if the dust behind me symbolized pain I was fleeing from somehow. No matter how much pressure I put on the gas, it was always in my rearview mirror. All I could do was try my hardest to outrun the agony of an 11-year-old child who had lost both his father and his sister. The power I felt coursing through my veins at the same speed I was physically traveling soon turned to fear as I failed to take the final turn where the new fence was patiently waiting on me. As I lost control, I panicked, and I hit the gas harder instead of pressing the brakes. The jagged wire approached me like a stop-motion animation film. 1 second it was in the distance, the next it had twisted around my neck and affixed itself to my face. I could feel my lips being torn down to my chin before darkness plucked me from the tragedy once again. I was confused because I thought this was my redo. Maybe it was up to me to stay off the three-wheeler and I blew it. I was foolish and I lost my gift of a second chance. Something was different this time. As the light began to focus, I didn't see my dad and sister waiting for me in the front yard. This time I saw the reflection of my distorted face in the bright red paint of the wreckage. I could feel angels lifting me from the ground before I passed out again. "You were lucky, Chris," I faintly heard as I came to my senses on a cold hospital bed being wheeled through hallways full of people. It was my brother telling me to squeeze his hand as the docs began to stitch up my battered face. Afterward, I remember lying in my room half-conscious while overhearing my brother explain to another adult that angels must have been watching over me that day. Our neighbor had put off securing his new fence because something had come up, and he had to leave the job undone. Larry, my brother, said Chris would have been decapitated if the fence had been nailed in. I'll never forget the day God gave me a second chance.